Homelander should have not died. I mean, like, that's literally, I'm just going to go right off the gate here. The fact that he died is like the most gay thing ever, in my opinion. And I think there, a lot of people have this, opinion that everything needs to be comic accurate and there needs to be kind of symmetry between the comics. And I just think that's really stupid. Because if you look at most, books, comics, compared to the movies, there's almost always slight differences. It's never really one-to-one. So I feel like the fact that Homelander died just like, I get it. It's kind of like a crucial part of like the comics because it's quite literally the ending. But at the same time, it's really dumb because it just doesn't make sense for his character. Right? Because think about it. Like you have this entire show where like, all the other characters are important. Don't get me wrong. But like Homelander's the big boss. Like he's the guy that really matters. And the whole show really is about him just kind of descending into madness. He starts off and he's like, I'm in control of the Seven. And then by the end of it, he's like, I want to be Jesus Christ, But, like as you're watching the show, you kind of like get this idea that all he really wants is attention. So the ending needs to kind of reflect that. You know what I mean? Like if you're going to have an ending of a guy that just wants attention, I mean, I guess killing him is, kind of an option, but it doesn't really make sense for who he is as a character. Because think about it, right? Like if you have this guy that's starved for attention and he's getting that attention and, he's basically the king of the world, then, I mean, killing him isn't a bad ending, but it's like, why not, take away his powers and lock him up and put him in a situation where, he has like a TV and he's just like put in this like insane asylum room where he just sees everything that he built crumbling down around him. Like, doesn't that make a lot more sense? You know what I mean? Like, why just kill him? I mean, like, don't get me wrong. Like, the finale was funny. And, that's one of the things that I can kind of appreciate about The Boys is it knew when to be funny and it knew when to be serious. But it's funny because, Homelander gets his powers taken away and he's like, please, Butcher, don't kill me. I'll eat your poop or whatever, and it's funny, but it's like, this is also a really serious moment. And like it makes sense for Butcher to want to kill him. But ultimately, I think there should have been a moment there where it's like, look, like, yes, this would be a suitable ending for Homelander, but the whole series is about revenge. You know what I mean? Like Robin died from A-Train, right? And like they reconcile that, but like it puts this hatred in his heart where he's like, I don't like the Seven, and it turns into like, I hate Homelander. And pretty much, everyone, I guess really Huey and Butcher are really the only ones that have something in their life that really made them hate the Seven. The rest are kind of just like, like I just don't like Soups. Like let's get them out of here. They're awful people. But it really would have made so much sense for them to be like, look, he doesn't deserve death. Like that's really too good of an ending for him because it really is. You know what I mean? Like death, obviously Homelander didn't want to die, but it really is too good of an ending for him because like all his suffering is gone. And like even from a business perspective, like I'm like, why would you do this? It's like, look, Homelander is so popular and you kill him. Like why not pull a DC and have, like DC's about to have a show where it's, Nightwing and Red Hood. And, that's going to go insanely hard. And I'm going to binge that in the span of a day, pirate it and everything. But, like why not have something where you have Soldier Boy who's on ice ready for them to bring back, maybe he breaks Homelander out of prison out of pity. And he's like, you know what, like maybe I should have a relationship with my son since, like I have no one else, it kind of makes sense, right? So it doesn't make sense for Homelander to die. It makes much more sense for him to be in a position where he's seeing everything around him crumble. And like, that's another thing that I hated was like, it felt like the finale was so rushed. Like, don't get me wrong, it was a really good episode and like they did cool stuff, but it's like, okay, I mean like, boom, we start the finale. It's like we break into the Pentagon, Homelander's dead. And then the rest of the 30 minutes is just like, them doing whatever. I can't even really remember, to be honest. It's like, okay, now we're going to drink beer and smoke cigars. And, oh, now Butcher wants to kill everyone else. And then, we kill Butcher. And then it's like, oh, the show's over. Ryan hates Butcher. He doesn't even want to go back to him. It's like, it just felt so rushed. Like it would have made much more sense for there to be, maybe 2 episodes of that or just, extend it by an hour where the first episode is, this huge buildup of killing Homelander. And then the very last one is, like maybe the first part of the episode could have been Homelander adjusting to his new life where he's in a cell And, it sucks because he's getting attention, but it's bad attention. He's basically this chud loser who lost his powers. And because really, when you look at Homelander, he's like an 8-year-old trapped in like a 20-year-old's body that just wants power. And it's like without that power, he's really an 8-year-old chud, who wants his mommy and doesn't have one, and it's like, really, when you look at it from that perspective, like that could be such a cool episode, because it's like Homelander's adjusting to his new life, and maybe they didn't kill Butcher, and Butcher checks on him. He's like, "Oi, how's it going in your cell there, buddy?" Like that would have made much more sense. Like, "Hey, Huey, look at this chud in the cell," But like that would have made way more sense than him just dying. And like, there's several other parts of the finale where it's like the Deep is basically, this whole time he's basically a chud simp loser, right? Who just wants to crack octopuses, right? And it's like, you finally have this moment. He finally has this moment where he could, take some of his dignity back after Homelander basically just calls him worthless. And he finally has this moment where it's like, wow, I could take it back. I could take a little bit of it back and not be a complete loser. And even after Homelander is like, "Hey, you're a loser. I hate you," he's still on Homelander's side. It's like, dude, what? Like, dude, it's so weird too, because like, I swear, from the second I started watching The Boys, I feel like the Deep got the spotlight the most out of anyone in the 7. And it kind of makes sense because like, yeah, he was going to return later, but it felt like the whole time it was really setting up for this redemption arc where, like he's really kind of the weakest person out of the 7, to be honest. But it's like the whole time, spotlight, not the whole time, but like a lot of the time, the spotlight was on him. So to me, it was kind of like expected that he was going to kind of come in and really step up. And then he just doesn't. It's just like, dude, like, what are we doing? Like, I don't know. It just felt like there were so many missed opportunities that just weren't capitalized on. But honestly, I really think that's where the bulk of my problem comes down to. It's just like the fact that there were so many opportunities that they just decided to not capitalize on. And it's kind of one of the reasons that I couldn't watch the last season of Stranger Things. Like literally, it was one of my favorite shows, but I heard the ending sucked and I just didn't want to watch it because I didn't want it to end on a bad note. You know what I mean? Because it's like, you've spent years watching these series and then they end it and it's just like, oh, the ending sucks and it's over now. But hey, we have spinoffs. It's like, dude, I would almost kind of look at it like, holy cow, this little stutter. I was like, oh, no, but I mean, I would almost kind of look at it if, like, imagine that, you want to marry a girl, right? You propose and then you throw a ring on her hand, right? And before that, she's cooking, cleaning, really acting like a wife, just being a girlfriend, right? And then the second that she's your fiance, she just stops doing all that. She's like, well, I mean, I already got the ring. Like, you'd be like what? Like, are we serious right now? Like, I don't really want to marry you anymore. It's like, how are you going to end your main series on a horrible note and then be like, yeah, like, these people aren't ready for these spinoffs that we're going to do? It's like, dude, no one's going to want to watch your spinoffs because you put a bad taste in everyone's mouth. You know what I mean? And I think The Boys really is kind of in a savable position because the rest of the series was so good. Like, I heard a lot of people hating on season 5, and I watched it, and I was like, I really don't know why. I thought it was good. The worst part is the finale. Because honestly, I would say The Boys is a solid 8 or 9 out of 10. But the finale brings it, in my eyes, to like a 6 or a 7, like unironically, no memes. Just because it's so weak and just ends it off on a bad note. And I hate when series do that. It's like, look, you spend so much time throughout all of the series creating just this new show. And then the finale comes around and it sucks. It's like, what are we doing? Like, you're literally ending what's supposed to be the end, like the best part of a show, and you make it mid. Like, tell me how that makes sense. But like, I don't know. It's just so weird to me because it seems like an L from so many aspects. I mean, it's like, look, like I'm not a business major or I'm not someone who works at, Amazon or whoever produces The Boys, but it's like, look, this is your moneymaker. Like, this is a show that makes you a pretty good amount of money and you're just going to make it have a bad ending and then you plan to do spinoffs? Like, dude, like, if I had a golden goose like that, right, I would protect it with everything. And like, obviously, it's not like Amazon, like that's their only show, but it's like, whenever I would go on Amazon and I would look at all the shows, The Boys was like almost always in the top 3 most watched today. So like, clearly it's very popular. So it's like, if you have this golden goose, you should probably try to protect it. But it's like, dude, like whenever I'm starting a series nowadays, it's like, I'm kind of just going in it with the mentality of like, hey, I'm going to enjoy this for, the first couple of seasons, but I'm like naturally expecting it to suck towards the end. And it just puts such a sour taste in your mouth because it's like, yes, this show is really good. I'm going to spend months watching it, but you ultimately know that it's going to trail off and it's going to suck at the end. And I don't know, like, it just makes me wonder, like, what are these guys doing? Like, do they even understand business at all? Like, I don't get it. Like, the fact that you can have an amazing show and then just butcher it at the very end and then have people, like everyone online, talking about how bad the finale is, and then still talk about, like, it's fine because we got spinoffs, and like, the show creator being like, I hope everyone likes the finale. It's like, it doesn't make any sense to me. And I just don't know what these people are thinking.